Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. So for instance, I have microchips in my new puppies that we've discussed. Do you have microchips in your silky chickens? There's got to be a way to track classified documents.
Yes.
So, not in our chickens, but in our dogs and our cats. And yes, it's so easy to keep track of a lost pet. You'd think that you could keep track of lost nuclear secrets.
Excuse me.
Well,
Okay.
there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way.
You retweeted Steve Bannon, who said, why does the story about Pence's docs make Trump look worse? Because the larger question isn't about who had classified materials. It's about what people did after discovering the materials. And you said, bingo. I mean, that's always the difference, right? With Trump in particular, is the obstruction and the lying. Correct?
Yes, that's exactly the line. When DOJ, from a very legalistic point of view, when DOJ looks at cases where there is someone who shouldn't have classified documents in possession of them, for the case to merit prosecution, there has to be more than the mere possession, right? We don't even know how the Biden and Pence documents got there. As of now, they're both saying staffers packed stuff up. These have been in sealed boxes for years. Nobody even knew that they were there. Compare that to Trump, where the evidence suggests that he looked at boxes after NARA asked for him back, saw what was in there, had this very slender turnover when they were subpoenaed, certified that everything had been turned over. Clearly wasn't true. DOJ even got a federal judge to sign off on a search warrant, which, let me tell you something, the federal judge, when he was first approached to sign off on a search warrant for Mar-a-Lago, has to have known in his mind that the case was going to be a big damn deal and would have scrutinized the government's probable cause very carefully. This would have been a look for probable cause on steroids. So completely different settings.
Yeah. Well, and also let's start special counsel for a minute. You said this is the reg governing when the AG should appoint a special counsel. Note that it hinges on whether a criminal investigation is warranted, an issue DOJ seemed to blow past with Biden, perhaps out of concern over public perception. No reason to treat Pence differently. Well, we've gone from you didn't really necessarily, the DOJ could have handled this. You didn't really need a special counsel. But so now what? Now are they going to have to appoint one for Pence as well?
I don't know. Just because you've made one mistake doesn't mean that you need to make another. But I'm extremely sympathetic to the position that Merrick Garland found himself in here. This is someone who inherited a Justice Department, which at the top levels, I'm not talking about the employees who do their jobs every day and do them well. But at the top level, it's clear that during the Trump administration, there was politicization at DOJ. Merrick Garland had the job of fixing that public perception. So he has always tried to bend over backwards to be fair. And here's the problem. There's no amount of bending over backwards to be fair to Trump that is ever going to convince Trump or soothe his followers and get them to believe that they're being treated fairly. Literally no good deed goes unpunished here, right?
Yeah.
So what Garland does, appointing a special counsel for Biden, he sort of blows past the requirement in the special counsel regs that there be a criminal case to investigate, because clearly there was not and is not with Joe Biden.
Right.
But I appreciate what he was trying to do. It just goes to underline that with Trump, that strategy does not work.
Yeah. Well, we just played sound bites earlier of Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan trying to somehow spin what I think is you tell me, but I think is a huge story. The story is this Russian asset found to be in the New York FBI office, who clearly helped Trump and hurt Hillary. They were trying to somehow spin this. I mean, you had said, the federal government, if the federal government was really turned against Republicans like Jim Jordan alleged to justify the House Select Subcommittee on the weaponization of federal government, Trump would have been indicted long ago and would be in an orange jumpsuit in a federal prison. You said the lesson from all this is time to stop pandering to Trump, do the right thing, let the chips fall where they may. There's nothing that will make Trump happy or soothe his base. Pending over backwards to establish your good faith with people who have none doesn't work. Thank you. But how does this story not completely confirm everything about Trump Russia that the Mueller report, Senate intelligence report, and everybody else has been saying?
So this is a really intriguing situation. Came out of the blue this notice that the FBI agent who is running counterintelligence in New York had been indicted and arrested. Not just one indictment, two indictments. I'm not sure if I'm ready yet to go as far as calling him a Russian asset. I think this story has been undercovered in the press. It's going to bear very close watching. He's indicted for action involving Russian folks after he leaves office. But at the same time, he's indicted for taking money from an Albanian diplomat while he's there. And the insinuation is that he prevented that person from being indicted. I don't want to overstate it. It's
Right.
not 100% clear. All we've got are the indictments. But there is good reason to be very alarmed about what he was doing while he was with the FBI in New York, and to see where this will lead. I think that this is maybe the most important news that we've gotten in the last week.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, what the headlines itself, it just makes your head spin, right? Agent, who was supposed to be FBI agent who was supposed to be investigating Trump for collusion with Russia, just indicted for colluding with Russia. I mean, it's of course it leads you to, is this why Jim Comey was forced to, because you remember Rudy Giuliani blabbing about, it was the FBI New York office. Was it why Comey was, forced to do what he did? Is it where the New York Times headline came from that, we don't see any collusion between Trump and Russia? I mean, there's a lot more questions than answers so far. Yeah.
There is a whole lot there to be looked at. And so I think, it's interesting that this case gets indicted, or the two cases get indicted on this timeline. But really, for my money, Steph, this is the story I'm the most interested in right now.
Republicans say they won't cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. But can honest, hard-working middle-class Americans really believe what these politicians say? Republicans said they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's what Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett said during their Senate confirmation hearings.
Roe v. Wade, it is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. A good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court.
Roe v. Wade. It's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court.
Roe is not a super precedent, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
Well, we saw how that turned out. They played us for fools. Tell your elected officials to keep their hands off of our Social Security and health care benefits. Fool me once. Let Majority Rule was responsible for this message. LetMajorityRule.org is a project of the Marvin Lucas Super PAC, which is responsible for and paid for this ad and is not affiliated with or authorized by any political campaign or candidate or candidates committee.